All right, and we are back. Welcome back to IDC 2020. Anton here again as your moderator for the second session of today. So I hope you guys are able to, with a quick rest, with a 30-minute break, you're able to get a few snacks, relax a bit, and unwind so that we can get ourselves ready for the next session. Allow me to thank again our partners before we go right ahead into the session. Thank you again to our partners, Adobo Magazine, our official media partner, and Buensalido Architects and British Council, our event partners. All right, just like what we did before, and as we do in IDC, we'll be asking a poll question for you guys to answer. Our poll question for this session is, which of these do you do when you are stuck in a rut? One, rest or sleep. Two, find a hobby. Three, seek entertainment, either through TV, books, or music. And four, other. So we've all been there. Creative ruts are very frustrating. If you choose other, please let us know down below in the comments or over here on the side panel, and we'll check them out later. So moving on, let's introduce our second speaker for this afternoon. Reimon is a multidisciplinary designer involving himself in projects encompassing architecture, industrial design, environmental, and interior design. He has done extensive work with both local and foreign institutions. He lives in an organic and biodynamic atmosphere at Prado Farms in Pampanga, runs an organic shop called Animo, and organizes workshops at the Institute for Steiner's Ideas in Practice, or ISIP, in Makati. He hopes to specialize the use of creative process and design as therapy someday. Let us all welcome Reimon. All right. Hi,
Hello.
Sir Reimon. How are you? Good
Hi.
afternoon. Hope everything is well with you there. All right. So it's good to have you here. I hope we're all excited, as I am as well, for your session. So without further ado, I'll be turning over the virtual floor to you. I'll see you later, sir.
Okay, first and foremost, I'd like to thank the organizers of this really wonderful project. It's so timely, and when I was asked to do it, I mean to contribute, from what I know to this timely project, I really couldn't say no, even if it was so difficult to do this from the farm and have to look for the right connection to the world. And so thank you to the organizers, and let's hope this is what would signal a new change for everyone, and this is the great reboot, as everyone's saying. And I was also asked to explain. The organizers also said maybe you could explain why you chose the title. And the second thing that they asked was maybe you could also introduce yourself, because you have I think you have more to share in terms of your background rather than what could be put in like a short spiel. So anyway, it's so interesting as I was thinking about what to say, and then I realized that the title and my biography were so intertwined, as if it was like the title itself and my life would have been like like in conjunction with each other. So the word if in my life would have been like I would be that person that would always be into all sorts of things, and like always discovering new things and discovering new places. And it was in my in my young life, I used to delve into every other activity, whether it was entrepreneurial, design, or events, or fashion, food, or whatever. So if wasn't like it if it could happen, then I would be in it. So I had a very busy younger life. I mean, I'll be turning 60 in about 2 or 3 years. And what changed was that at around in the 90s, Miss Ellie Pinto had asked me to do a really special project. And that's when I discovered that there was so much power to this if, and she had asked me at the time when I wanted to go on a sabbatical, and then I said I can't take your project because my sabbatical was more important. And then he said, "But yeah, but where would you want to go?" And I said, "As remote as possible and as meaningful as possible a place." So then she sent me to this little island. Next slide, please. The next thing I knew, I was being sent to this little place in outside of Holo called La Minusa Island. And one of the tasks given to me was to come up with they had given me a design project working with the communities and indigenous peoples. And at the time, the buzzword was globalization. And so they had to be somewhat relevant while retaining their identity so that they would be ready for what the world was, for the world to come. And we're talking about the late 1990s to the early part of this century. So anyway, what had happened was that I had come in straight from the city and into a into this community, and I was like telling them, "This is what you should do. This is what you should do," and there'd be this is how the world's going to look like, and all this. And they were just staring at me, and I said, I'm not connecting with these people. I don't know how to do it. So finally, one morning when I woke up, I said, I wonder if this is what you should do. And immediately, when I said the word if, there seemed to have been like, as if they started thinking in images and pictures and all this and all the possibilities that I was trying to get them to imagine. And that word if for me then became the portal for many more things to come, not just for that project in La Minusa, but everywhere else. And it had like, let's say it had influenced my life for the better part of the remaining decades since up to now. So anyway, what I'm trying to say is then I started using the word if on my life. Like I wonder if I could be an art therapist. That I did. So immediately, like as if on cue, a training from the UK was brought to the Philippines, and I was so excited with design that I told the design center head Ria, hey, look, this is what I wanted to be. And I just said, I wonder if I could be an art therapist. So anyway, that was one of the bigger ifs that happened to me. And I thought maybe that if for this workshop, I could share its power to you, maybe then I could have, in gratitude to that small word that has big implications. And so one of the things that happened to us, of course, is with all this lockdown, um, I was stuck, and I was like, it's like that question that Anton was saying. What do you do when you're stuck in a rut? And I would have said, get a hobby or something like that. But then he had I think choice D is others. So then I decided maybe I could. I wonder if I could be a baker. So next slide, please. And so in the baking, I'm not really good at it, but the idea of me being a baker, out of all the things that I've done, came as a point where I asked myself, what else have I not done? I mean, now that I have the time and I'm locked down and all this, and uh, this is all I have. And so I started baking. My sister told me what to do, and a really good friend also sent pictures of like what she would do and all this. And behind the scenes, I would like go to them and ask them. I wonder if you put this, what happens, and all this and all that. So anyway, in hindsight, I mean, not so long ago. This is not so long ago. It's still happening, and I realized that there were so many things about baking. So to sum it up, my life as a baker, um, I realized that next slide, please. That baking bread is biography. Next. And that as long as you have the ingredients, ask questions, follow the rules, and leave everything to fate. And when all else fails, there's always a possibility of a wonderful pudding. So anyway, I kind of, it was one of my greatest fears to bake because they had so many rules. But at the same time, I realized even when I break them, there's always a pudding. And so in the next slide, the one thing that really kept me going was, yeah, at the end of the day, even a crumb wants to be something. There was nothing, nothing to be thrown away or anything. And so that's my current power of the if. And so I was wondering when the organizer said maybe you could do something different, and I said, yeah, why don't we bring them to an art exercise that maybe should also explore this power from within, and within the design language and creative language that they might understand. But I didn't want to go straight to the exercise because I thought maybe there should be a few reflection questions that maybe I could bring you into. And so for this reflection session, maybe you could get a piece of paper. Slide, please. You can get a piece of paper. And the second part is fold it into four. And at the center of the quadrant where these folds cross, please draw a really tiny spiral using your pen or pencil or crayon or whatever. Okay, so when you're done, um, I'd like to read so then you'll have four parts of your paper. So on a small part, you could number each part, but really tiny, like 1, 2, 3, and 4 per quadrant. Please make sure you leave enough space for the quadrant, huh? And I'll be giving like four reflection questions. The first one would then be from a poem from to give you into that mood. I could read you a poem from Pablo Neruda. And next slide, please. And it was at that age poetry arrived in search of me. I don't know. I don't know where it came from winter or a river. I don't know how or when. No, they were not voices. They were not words nor silence. But from a street I was summoned from the branches of night, abruptly from the others. Among violent fires or returning alone, there I was without a face, and it touched me. That was Pablo Neruda talking about how he came to be a poet and how he knew that was going to be his life. And so for your first reflection, I'd like to ask you to think of the time that you first became aware of design. And this might be like when you were a child and you realized a special toy that was more special than others, that there was a process or there's a little more effort that was given to it for it to become. Or maybe somebody had given you a gift that you can't forget, and even if the meaning was even if it was a meaningful gift, the design was the one that you were like so enthralled with. So I don't know, or maybe you were in front of a building and you said, wow, who did this? So the first time I became aware of design, maybe you could either write that down or maybe even draw a little scene, like a quick sketch. So I'll give you a few minutes to do this, like maybe 2 or 3 minutes. Okay, so we move on to the next reflection question. This time, I'm going to read something from Rilke, another poet. Next slide, please. This one's from Rilke. I live my life in widening circles that reach out across the world. I may not complete this last one, but I give myself to it. I circle around God, around the primordial tower. I've been circling for thousands of years, and I still don't know, am I a falcon, a storm, or a great song? Yeah, so for the next reflection question, next slide, please. Uh, Maybe you can bring to mind in your imagination the time you committed that this is what you wanted to be. You knew that your life was going to be all about design or creativity or the arts or whatever field you might be if this is not what you're into. I mean, you may be an entrepreneur but you think about the time you said, this is what I want to be. And I'll give you a few minutes to either write that down on the paper or maybe do a quick sketch again of that memory in your mind. You try to remember the feeling and the senses going through you. Maybe you felt a shock of electricity or something within your body, or maybe it was a sleepless night. And in the morning, you knew, this is what you wanted to be. Okay, and so for the third reflection question, um, I'd like to read another poem, this time from Mary Oliver. And it says, someone I loved once gave me a box full of darkness. And it took me years to understand that this too was a gift. So for the next reflection question is the most difficult challenge I survived in the course of my work to be in the design profession. Like I said, you could change the design profession if you're in another field. But as this was specific, for now, like remember, try to remember the challenge that you survived and strengthen the resolve to be who you are right now. So recall not only the difficulty, but also the joy of getting out of it, of surviving, not only the surviving, but like, um, being where you are at the end of that struggle and coming out like the winner. Okay, so we're down to our last reflection question. This time from German poet Goethe. You might have heard this before, but try to remember it now in this context. Whatever you think you can do or believe you can do, begin it. Boldness has magic, grace, and power in it. So, for the last reflection question is how do you feel the world might change as a result of your work? So, you could then list down the things that you want for the world to be, as a result of your work. And if you still can't imagine that, imagine if you didn't exist and how the world might be different because you weren't around. So this way, you have two sides of the coin. But for now, let's see is how do you feel the world might change as a result of your work? So Goethe's quote is whatever you think you can do or believe you can do, begin it. And boldness has magic, grace, and power in it. And I'll give you a few more minutes to review the four questions before we move on to the main part of our workshop. So the first question was the first time I became aware of design. Second reflection question is the time I committed that this was what I wanted to be. The third is the most difficult challenge I survived in the course of my work to be in the design profession. And the last one could be, one or two great things, or maybe a long list of like, how do you feel the world might change as a result of your work? So this could be your aspirations for the world that is to come, what the future might like because you're here. Okay, I hope you survive that. These are really tough. They could be tough reflection questions, and so let's just say what I'm going to ask you to do in the next few minutes. You could use these four reflection questions as the foundation of the artwork that you're going to be asked to do. And if this was a gardening show, then I would say it'd be the compost. But I guess because I'm addressing designers, so then it would mean that could be like the foundation work or the preparation work. What I'm going to ask you to do next is a self-portrait. And before I ask you to before I give you the instructions, you have to realize that from this poem by Samuel Butler, every man's work, whether it be literature or music or pictures or architecture or anything else, is always a portrait of himself. So I'd like you to prepare your materials. If you're going to draw on paper or on your tablet, that's fine. But whatever materials you have, please have them on standby. Because the self-portrait I'm going to ask you to do would require another set of reflections. And this time, I need you to see that the if of the title of this workshop would be more than anything else like a portal of what you can imagine yourself to be. So, whatever possibilities that come out of this imagining um, starts with the word if, and the reflection that I would ask you to really think about would be next slide, please. If I were a building, what would I be? And if I were a building, how would I look? So as you're forming these possibilities in your head, um, try to see in your mind's eye, like, what am I made of? What's my purpose? Why should I even exist? Because after all, a building doesn't really just exist for itself. It's meant to function. It's also meant to be seen. So if you were a building, what would you be? If you were a building, how would you look? Anton and Ken?
Hello, I'm back.
Okay. So now
Hoy.
the moment of
Ha?
truth is that with those reflection questions now, uh, do you have your materials?
Yes.
Okay, so now you could create a portrait of yourself as a building. Okay. Like I said, with the reflection questions as the foundations of all of this, you create in your on the paper you have or your materials. We'll give you about 20 minutes for this, so you have enough time. And try to create as detailed as you wish and as meaningful as you can. So for those who just joined us, we've asked the group to create a portrait of themselves as a building, with the two reflection questions of if I were a building, what would I be? If I were a building, how would I look? How's everyone doing? Um, Ken, Anton, maybe you could show us how it looks like, how your work looks like. You may want to show us on the screen. Wow. Wow, okay. Yeah, for those who are done, you could also try to imagine what the interior might look like. Like how would you do it? And so try to come up with yeah. Oh, Ken. And Anton. Okay, so what you could do is try to fill up the paper with maybe landscape or a background. Yeah. And then for those who want to move a bit further, you could also do the interiors of your building. So what would your inner self look like if it was a building? Okay. So I'll give you a few more minutes for this. Okay, maybe by now you could be putting your finishing touches. I'll give you 1 more minute. And for those who are sort of done, you may want to like share your drawings on next slide, please. Maybe you could give the information. Share your images on your Instagram or Facebook story um, with your hashtag and next slide with these instructions, if you like. And you can also share your works on the comment section. Please use these hashtags. And when you're done, you may want to think of a title for your work. This title should hold the meaning of what you aspire for the future to be. You as a building and your role in the world of the future. So think of a title that's sort of an uplifting title for it. And maybe share it on our comment section if you wish. Try to keep the title as short as possible. A one-word title would be ideal. A short phrase would be acceptable. Wow, so we have a share from Marisol Lopez. Says interesting and compared to the young designers as a senior citizen, if I were a building, I'd be a beach house. Open, welcoming, accepting, and feeling God's presence. Thank you, Marisol. And the title is Presence, of course. And from Arthur de Borja, if I were a building, I would be a church building. And his title would be A Place of Refuge. Wow. And for Joseph Kua, Dog Shelter. Wow, amazing. And Anton, would you have a title? Or Ken?
Yeah, I created this one. I named it, wait, do I do this one? I named it Claro.
Okay.
Yeah, Claro. Maybe just because I think that parang the building looks like a building block, but at the same time, it's bottom up in terms of how do we view it. So it's really narrowing, and then at the same time, not really narrowing down, but at the same time, as it goes smaller, you become really clear. So I think Great Reset is also an opportunity for us to actually be clear on who we actually want to be and what we want to be. So that's how I really reflect on it, and then how I want my building to be.
Wow. Yeah. This is the time to be in that state now, And also how to stand out. It looks like a skyscraper. Yeah. Okay, Anton?
So mine is more of a open facade building. There's a tent area inside, and then there's a tree. So it's more combining what is good nature and encompassing it within a certain group. So that's one aspect of it. And I added some areas here with this design to show that, you know, what we see is beautiful also in something bland and simple but work.
Unfortunately, it was a bit garbled from my end. So maybe you could share the text of what you just shared. Yeah. Yeah. Sige. And yeah, so anyway, it's an interesting, would you have a title for it, Anton? I did just, would you have a title for your, maybe you could flash it on screen. Yeah, just type it.
Yeah,
Oh,
free will. Yeah.
free will. Wow.
Yeah, I totally agree. Because when you actually see Anton's artwork, just based on what my interpretation would be, it's really like there's a state of flow that would really just that really gives you a freedom to think, and it's really an up and down, and it's just flowy, and then that gives you really an idea of just free will, and just free on what your ideas are.
Yeah, even if I didn't get your full explanation because of the connection, I guess visually I could see what you mean by that. You know, you've made that visible, that idea. But anyway, as everyone's in their house, maybe houses doing their final touches. Yeah, for those who want to who haven't done it, maybe you could think of a title of your work and share it. And this title should be so special to you, but because it's the one word that you can keep with you. I mean, the image stays in your head as an imagination, maybe even clearer than how your artwork did. But the artwork, really, in art therapy, what happens is that when you draw your inner landscape, um, then you objectify and make visible, not just for yourself, but for others, what your aspirations are. And you may need to write down a few reflection points on, like for Ken, for example, in his Claro building, and the clarity he might be needing around now. And then you know that this phrase called words create worlds, so that the title itself can be the trigger mechanism, like the if word, like a portal to more of what you can imagine. Yeah. So we'll move right ahead. We're assuming that you have a title, and I guess for some people, you're wondering why this image was the chosen image to accompany most, if not all, of the slides. For those of you in the design profession, or maybe just like design enthusiasts, um, you may know that you may know about the Bauhaus, but there's a little known story about how in the beginning uh, one of their um, one of their founders created this artwork as a portrait of their aspirations for the world to come. The Bauhaus was a major design, created one of the most powerful design movements in the 20th century. And technically, it changed the way not only how designers became more how do you say this, like part of the everyday world, but how the world had changed because of their design also. And this building was what you would call their portrait, the first portrait they had made of their aspirations. It actually accompanied the manifesto, the first manifesto made about how they wanted to change the world. You have to understand that when the Bauhaus came into play, they were in a they were in a similar state. Germany was in a similar state like we are now. And there was so much poverty. The First World War had just ended. There was no money and there were no materials, and everyone was just struggling to be alive. And what happened was this young group of designers, or a group of young designers, came together and said, things must change and design must be the leader. So in a way, this Bauhaus group, um, um, with this portrait, signaled the changes that was to come in the next century. And so to this day, I mean, their legacy still lives. And you know what could be? I mean, for the younger designers, this is like early 20th century. But you have to understand that Bauhaus was the spirit of their time, the zeitgeist. So the next slide, please. Zeitgeist, you know, they were the defining spirit or the mood in that particular period of history. So this word is like it's like the word that really came about because of their design also, and they being part of that time, they created the narrative for design. And so with that said, we wonder, and I wonder if the next slide, please. You know, with these changes happening into the world, there's so much out there for designers to be the zeitgeist of their time. We need to know where we are before we could move forward. And with the with the with this cathedral of the future designed by the Bauhaus, maybe it's time for a new beginning, a new design beginning. So we hope that next time you'll be the zeitgeist of your generation. Okay? So as an ending, I'd like to read you a poem from Mary Oliver again. So this is a quote from Mary Oliver. So tell me, what is it you plan to do with your one wild and precious life? So thank you, everyone. I hope you had a meaningful workshop. And I know it was short, but you'll have lingering ideas and thoughts in the next few days. And try to journal your dreams and your the things that would come into play and for the next few days for you. Okay. Thank you, everyone.
All right. Thank you for that very, very inspiring and thought provoking exercise for myself and also for everybody here. And I myself, I was able to like come up with a building or a reflection of myself that I wasn't able to properly share earlier. But yeah, it was more of going and reimagining myself as an object, not as a person, and trying to put out and try to, you know, uh, put into the right objects what I really am, and it was very inspiring for me, also, Raymond. So I do have a question though. How do you suggest do designers try to interpret themselves into what they create, especially when it's made into an instruction or it's made into a request?
Um, this exercise is really more like what you really want to be of service in the world. You know, it's like what you design could be just the flow of what's inside you. If you had an inner landscape, this is like letting it out there so that you could be inspired to do more. And the continuing exercise for this building is that if we were a city, so because we have limited time, if we were a city, would have been like all the buildings being put into place in like a big mirror board and mural board and like situating your space in the world. So in a way, yeah, I don't. Did that answer your question or?
Yes, yes, I did. You did.
Yeah,
Okay.
because also you did ask that in your survey, what do you do when you're in a rut?
All right. So, given that, we'd like to bring up the poll answers from the poll question earlier today. So, the question was, which of these do you do when you're stuck in a creative rut? And the results are down below. So, a lot of people rest or sleep equally. They seek entertainment, and some people find a new hobby. That's good. I don't think other people do other things, and these three things encompass basically what people would do. Either you do nothing, or you try to do something, and it's properly equated into these three things. So yeah.
I guess now after this workshops with Kara and mine, then they could do the others, meaning like in my case, you could bake,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
or yeah, being a creative expression. I mean, it doesn't have to be as like what I did, like a designing build creating a portrait of yourself as a building. So, but I guess I'm surprised that no one went into art,
That's correct. That's correct.
even if it was just a hobby. I don't know if artists or painters really go into that as a hobby. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much, Sir Raymond. That was a very wonderful exercise, and it was a very eye-opening session. We hope that everybody here who has joined, that you can share with us your artworks, your reflections of yourselves by using the hashtags, hashtag IDC2020 and hashtag Better Normal by Design. Please tag Design Center of the Philippines on our Facebook pages and all other social media platforms. Thank you for that wonderful session, Sir Raymond. Hopefully, all of us who have participated had the chance to rediscover our whys. And thank you so much, sir.
Okay. Thank you, Anton, and everyone else who organized this conference. Thank you.
All right, thank you. So that was Reimon Gutierrez, our final speaker for the International Design Conference, Design Futures, Better Normal by Design. So how are you guys after 5 days full of design inspiration? What are some of the learnings that you've picked up in the last 5 days? We'd love to hear them. Please share them down below. You may also tag us in your stories or in our comments. Just let us know how you felt throughout the 5 days or 5 sessions that we've had for the past week. Also, if you missed our other sessions, all sessions are available on our Facebook page, DTI Design Center, and likewise on our YouTube channel, DTI Design Center of the Philippines. You can scan through the sessions and even rewatch them to gain more insight about our talks. Before I leave you, I would like to thank our event partners, Buensalido Architects and British Council, and our official media partner, Adobo Magazine. Thank you very much for your support. Thank you as well to Dr. Marian Alonzo, the medical chief of the farm at San Benito Harmonizing Series. These mindfulness exercises are our way of providing you with new tools to find balance and well-being. We hope that this has been a reminder for you to stay in tune and care for your physical and mental health. To close, we have another video from the Harmonizing series for you to enjoy. Thank you and have a great weekend, everybody.
We must eradicate from the soul all fear and terror of what comes towards man out of the future. We must acquire serenity in all feelings and sensations about the future. We must look forward with absolute equanimity to everything that may come. And we must think only that whatever comes is given to us by a world directive full of wisdom. It is part of what we must learn in this age, namely to live out of pure trust without any security in existence. Trust in the ever-present help of the spiritual world. Truly, nothing else will do if our courage is not to fail us. And let us seek the awakening from within ourselves every morning and every evening. Continue to breathe in and out, and really connecting to this breath and to quote Hildegard of Bingen, how wonderful is this breath that awakened humankind. Staying with the breath, I invite you to listen to this sound of the crystal singing bowls. Let every cell in your body welcome and receive this sound. This sound helps the cells go back and remember the healthy blueprint.
Today, we will be sharing with you some healing exercises, and we will take advantage of the the ground. Now, if you find yourself quite unsettled because of the news that you hear on social media or the television, these are some exercises that you can use. So this one is basically like pushing away the sliding door. And it's a gentle way of just letting go of energies that do not serve you anymore. And then you come out and really shine your light.